Have you ever woken up in the dead of night, staring into the dark void of your ceiling, feeling a silence so heavy it almost crushes you? Have you ever scrolled through the hundreds of names in your phone, only to put it down because you realized there isn't a single person you can call? Not one person who truly understands the storm raging inside your chest. That is the moment when every foundation collapses. That is when the friends you thought would stay forever turn their backs. That is when the promises evaporate like mist, and the noise of the crowd fades into a deafening silence. You feel exposed. You feel abandoned. And in the quiet of that room, a thought creeps in. This is the end of my story. But listen to me closely. Let this truth sink deep into your weary spirit. This is not the end. This is the beginning. When a woman reaches the point where she has absolutely no one but God, something powerful, something sacred, begins to take shape within her. Today, we are not talking about tragedy. We are talking about a secret, painful, yet glorious journey. A journey where life strips away every support system, every familiar voice, every shoulder you used to lean on, just to bring you into a divine encounter. If you feel like you are walking through a dark tunnel with no light in sight, if you feel isolated and forgotten, this message found you for a reason. Your isolation is not empty. Your silence is not wasted. Your loneliness is the very soil where God is planting something eternal. When people walk out, God walks in. We are terrified when people leave us. We panic when relationships fracture. But there is a spiritual law that few women realize immediately. The absence of people is often the invitation of God. There are seasons when God must allow everyone else to fade into the background. He allows the phone to stop ringing. He allows the messages to go unanswered. He allows the ones you trusted most to disappear as if they never existed. Why? Is He punishing you? No. He is making room for Himself. The room of your life was too crowded. It was filled with noise, with the opinions of others, with your dependency on flesh and blood. God is jealous for your heart. He wants you whole. And to do that, He has to clear the room so you can finally see the one who has never left. The Apostle Paul once wrote, "At my first defense, no one stood with me, but all forsook me. But the Lord stood with me and strengthened me." This is the revelation every chosen woman must discover. God lets people fail you so you can learn who is truly faithful. He lets them let go of your hand so you can realize who is actually holding you. This is not abandonment. It is alignment, just like Jesus. He performed miracles in the crowd, but He was prepared for His purpose in the wilderness. He was affirmed in the waters, but He was strengthened in the wild. And so it is with you. Your wilderness is not a graveyard for your dreams. It is God's workshop. When the noise stops, you finally hear the whisper. A loud life kills the ability to hear a gentle God. The world is screaming. Notifications, expectations, judgments. God, in His majesty, rarely shouts to compete for attention. He whispers. So, in His mercy, He silences the world for you. He lets the relationship end. He lets the career pause. He creates a vacuum of silence around you, not to break you, but to break the noise that imprisons you. In that terrifying stillness, something sacred begins to sprout. You start to pray differently, not out of routine, but out of desperation. You read the scriptures not out of habit, but out of hunger. You stop seeking validation from people who are just as lost as you are. and you start tuning in to the frequency of heaven. You rediscover your name. You are no longer just someone's wife, someone's mother, or someone's employee. You are the daughter of the king, like Hagar in the desert, cast out and forgotten by humans. Yet it was there, in the middle of nowhere, that she cried out, "You are the God who sees me." God kicks away the crutches to teach you how to stand. We are taught to lean. We lean on others for affirmation, for safety, for direction. But a woman who only leans will never discover the strength God placed inside her spine. So God does something that feels cruel, but is actually an act of love. He removes the crutches. The crutch might be a partner. It might be your beauty. It might be your need for control. It might be your addiction to approval. When those crutches snap, you fall. You feel the phantom pain of loss. But this is actually liberation. He is teaching you that He is not plan B when everything falls apart. He is the foundation. When you lose what you thought you needed, you find the one you truly need. God isn't breaking your life down. He is breaking you out of your cage. Pain becomes your greatest teacher. When a woman has no one but God, pain becomes her classroom. Do not look at pain as an enemy. Look at it as a purifier. Look at Hannah, misunderstood, mocked, empty. Her pain was so deep that when she prayed, her lips moved, but no sound came out. But notice this, her tears didn't drive God away. They drew Him closer. Her pain pushed her into a depth of prayer that a comfortable woman could never reach. And from that depth, a miracle named Samuel was conceived. Pain births purpose. Brokenness births calling. The crushing you feel today is the anointing oil for your tomorrow. Some women will never pray with fire until their hearts are broken. Some will never seek God desperately until the safety net is gone. Motto: pain is not the assassin. Pain is the escort that walks you to the door of heaven. When the mirrors of the world shatter, God becomes your only reflection. When the opinions die down, when the societal expectations vanish, God begins to unveil who you really are. Identity is often buried under the dust of noise. When you are alone with God, the distorted mirrors of human judgment break, and God becomes your mirror. You see yourself through His eyes, not rejected, but chosen. Not a failure, but a work in progress. Not too much, but made for more. In that silence, you begin to bloom. You recognize the warrior spirit of Deborah within you, the loyalty of Ruth, the courage of Esther, the surrender of Mary. Your solitude becomes your sanctuary. Your silence becomes the soil where your true self rises. Faith tested in fire is faith that cannot be shaken. There is a kind of faith that is only built in isolation. It is not Sunday morning faith. It is not convenience faith. It is wilderness faith. It is the faith of Habakkuk, who declared, "Even if the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, yet I will rejoice in the Lord." This is not the faith of a woman who has everything. This is the faith of a woman who has lost almost everything, yet refuses to lose her praise. A woman with this faith is dangerous to the enemy. Why? Because you cannot threaten a woman who has nothing left to lose. People leave. She's been there. Storms rise. She's survived worse. Heaven is silent. She knows silence means trust. Her faith is no longer dependent on outcomes. It is anchored in the character of God. She loves Him for who He is, not just for what He gives. Finally, understand this. Loneliness is not a delay. It is a delivery room. Great purpose is grown in quiet places. Great callings are conceived in secret. Look at Elizabeth. After conceiving John the Baptist, she hid herself away for 5 months. Not because she was ashamed, but because God was forming something holy inside her, and holy things must be protected from the eyes of the world while they are being formed. Some blessings are too sacred to be exposed too soon. Your loneliness is not a shelf where God has forgotten you. It is a womb. God is not ignoring you, He is incubating you. You are not being rejected. You are being overshadowed. The silence around you is not a punishment, it is protection. Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. God hides the women He intends to use. He separates those He plans to elevate. He isolates those He plans to anoint. You are not behind. You are being built. You are not breaking. You are becoming. If you have felt alone, if you have cried in secret, if you have wondered if God still sees you, this is your answer. You are not a victim. You are a warrior in training. When a woman has no one but God, she doesn't shrink. She strengthens. She doesn't get lost. She gets aligned. She doesn't fall apart. She falls into her purpose. And believe me, when she emerges from this hidden season, she will not be the same woman who entered it. She will come out anointed. She will come out appointed. She will come out unstoppable. She went in as a lump of coal under pressure, but she will walk out as a diamond. If this touches your spirit, declare this boldly right now. Write it down. Speak it out. I am hidden, but I am holy. Do not fear the darkness of isolation, for it is in that very darkness that the brightest light of your life is being ignited. God is with you, right now, in the silence.